Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you're on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. Of course, we've looked at the first segment of this episode. We'll be looking at the second segment, which is about urgent reform needed in the Nigerian judicial system. So the first question is, can you highlight some of the reforms that have been recently implemented, of course, in the judicial system to, bring it up to speed with the modern times?
Yes. Yes, the Nigerian judicial system needs reforms. That is clear to everybody. And those reforms are reforms that are needed to do a lot of things. One of them is to restore the confidences in the judicial system. Now, what are the areas of these reforms? The areas of the reforms, first and foremost, are to look at the issue of corruption. There's need to put in place structures that will ensure that there's less of corruption in the judicial system than what we appear to be witnessing today. You see, in Nigeria, before independence and after independence, even some years after independence, Nigerian system was almost corruption-free. There were hardly incidences of corruption, of bribery, and all that. In 1930, before independence, there was a particular case, the case of Ao and Iguatu. It was handled up to West African Court of Appeal. That case was a case where one Iguatu, who was an interpreter of the native court in Onitsha, was charged for and convicted for receiving bribe in the form of one bottle of gin. One bottle of gin. He was convicted. And what happened? His offense was that he took one Amadi Bello to Enugu to meet a panel. And they said that was wrong. He collected that gin as a reward for taking the man to Enugu to meet the panel. And he faced the sanctions. So as far back as 1930, the judicial system in Nigeria was insulated from many things that had the appearances of corruption. But today, we have seen incidences, and allegations of corruption. And it's bad because if the masses do not have confidence in the judicial system, it means that they may resort to other means of regulating their grievances. But if they have trust and confidence in the system, then there won't be issue of corruption. There will be issue of loss of confidence. And then the CJN, the new CJN, and the Judicial Service Commission have a lot to do. And as far as we know, there are practical areas that need to be addressed. And one of the areas that we need to address is the issue of appointment of judges. Let's start with the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. The Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. Sections 23112 and 23812 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended make provision for appointment of judges to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. And the basic requirement is that whoever is to be appointed must have attained 12 years and 15 years respectively at the bar. Presently, appointment to Supreme Court limited to people coming from the bench, and that is the Court of Appeal. Promotion from Court of Appeal to Supreme Court is witnessed in the recent times. There is need to change that pattern. There is need to allow active legal practitioners that are in private practice to be appointed directly from the bar to the Supreme Court. That was done in the past, and when it was done, those that were appointed made their marks at the Supreme Court. The likes of Coker, the likes of Elias, Fatai Williams, and others, they were appointed from the bar, not to the High Court, not to the Court of Appeal, but the Supreme Court. And at the Supreme Court, they made their marks. There's also need for those in the academic field, in the academia, to equally be appointed from their universities or wherever they may be lecturing to the Supreme Court. But what should be paramount is that those to be appointed should be people with impeccable character, those that are intelligent, those that are compassionate about each other, and those that are diligent, competent, excellent, who have a track record, so that there will be cross-fertilization of ideas, so that at the Supreme Court there will be people coming from the bar, coming from the academy, and those coming from the Court of Appeal. That will, make the Supreme Court better in terms of composition. Then we also look at the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal, there should also be opportunity for lawyers and those in the academy to be equally appointed straight to the Court of Appeal instead of going through the High Court. Especially those who have made their marks. And then there's also the need to appoint private legal practitioners direct to Supreme Court without going through the High Court or Court of Appeal. That has happened in Nigeria. You have a lot of them, like Justice Obaseki, Justice Ruka, Justice Kawu, Justice Bello, Alexander. They were moved straight to the Supreme Court without passing through the Court of Appeal. And if you look at our, you look at the Supreme Court, the contributions of these people are outstanding. They made their marks. They didn't go through the Court of Appeal. They went straight to the Supreme Court and they made their marks. So these are the things we need to look at. These are the things that the new CJN and the National Judicial Service Commission need to implement. And again, for the appointment at the High Court, what I've seen in recent times in the state is that the assignment that the State Judicial Service Commission is saddled with in the issue of appointment of judges is hijacked by the governors. The governors are the ones that decide who is appointed, and you know what that means. You know what that means. That if a governor has, given a note to a particular person, they appointed as a judge in that state, what it portends is that that person will owe an allegiance to the governor. And of course, now if there are cases involving that governor or the state he governs and private individuals in that state or even people from other places, disposition of that particular judge, except is someone who is minded to do justice, not minding what may be the outcome, he may be tempted to be biased in favor of the governor who has made it possible for him to be there. And that has caused a lot of havoc, because instead of appointing those that are ordinarily better qualified, they look at people they can easily manipulate, put them there, and that is not good for our judicial system. Let the State Judicial Service Commission be allowed to carry on with assignments, because that is what is supposed to be. That's what the law says. Not the governor, taking over what ordinary, because if the Judicial Service Commission, that is a body that is constituted by law for that purpose, is the one that has done the collation of the forms of those that have indicated interest, done the screening, the interviews, and then the selection. It will be better for us. So the issue of appointment is one thing that needs to be urgently addressed. Number two thing that needs to also to be addressed is the issue of independence of the judiciary, and this is somehow related to what I've just said, where the appointment is not done by the governor but by a body. The judge will be free in his mind and conscience to dispense justice. The issue of independence of the judiciary is critical, because if you look at it, in Nigeria today, both major religions, the Christian religion, advocates that judges, as representatives of God, must dispense justice without fear or favor. And they should not collect bribes. They should not manipulate justice. They should not dispense justice in a way that doesn't accord with fairness and justice. The Holy Bible and the Holy Quran, all say that judges must be independent, must be impartial, and that is why the symbol of justice is a lady that is blindfolded. And so there must be steps taken to ensure that there is independence in the judicial system. And moving from there, we now look at the issue of judicial precedent, certainty in our judicial system. Back in those days when we were at the university, we were made to understand about judicial precedent, that there must be certainty on areas of the law. If a court, especially the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has decided a particular case, every other case on the same point should be decided the same way. That is to say that there should be certainty in the judicial system. But in recent years, as we are witnessing incidences of conflicting decisions of the Superior Court, and that creates two major problems. One, for the legal practitioner who needs to advise his client on possible actions to take when it has to do with going to court to ventilate his or her grievances. If there are conflicting decisions on the same point, on the same area of law, the lawyer will be confused as to which one to follow. And then the society will also believe that there may be manipulation, and that is why the court appear to be speaking from both sides of the mouth.
All right.
Now,
all right, let me just get to you, because this is very important, the issue and use of technology before you...
I'm still coming to the issue of technology.
Okay.
I'm still coming to the issue of technology. Right. So, when the issue of certainty is done, and judges decide and maintain, the precedent, it will go a long way in ensuring that what we have is certain. And then the next thing that also needs to be taken seriously is the avowed position of the Supreme Court in recent years to aim at substantial justice. Substantial justice, not technicalities. We believe before now that the era of technicalities is over. That what the court will aim at is substantial justice between the parties. But in recent times, the issue of technicalities has risen again, reared its ugly head. And of course, the average Nigerian today, who is not necessarily a lawyer, will tell you that this one is a technical point and all that. That shouldn't be so. Let the courts be consistent in doing substantial justice. And again, there's also need to deploy technology in our judicial system. It will go a long way to ensure efficiency and speed in justice delivery and dispensation. You discover that society is dynamic and Nigeria is growing. We are over 200 in terms of population, and for that reason you discover that the judges are inundated with a lot of cases. There are some courts where a particular judge may be having up to 2,000 cases in his or her docket, just one judge, so 1,000 plus case files, and they have to do returns. Now, how do they cope if there are no, efficient devices, technological devices that will assist? Of course, in Lagos State, the Lagos State Judiciary introduced use of automatic recorders and judicial assistants and so on. But then there is still need to improve, because in some states in Nigeria, some judges still write in longhand. Recently, I was in a court outside Lagos, and from around 11 in the morning to about 3, a judge was writing a ruling on a point, just a ruling on one point, on a motion that he wrote in longhand. By the time he delivered the ruling at about 3 p.m., virtually every other person was tired, and most of the cases could not go on that day. Assuming there was, a device that could record automatically, and then there are also, if the judge wants to do a bench ruling, there are a device that can bring out relevant authorities he needs to consider instantly. Then that will, assist in the whole thing. And then those that are going to court will know that, if I go to court within a record time, the matter will be decided. Not that when you go to court, you don't know where the matter will finally end.
Yes. In talking about going toward outside jurisdiction, of course, so many people have also argued that in other jurisdiction we have what we call virtual hearing. Now, you didn't need to go; you could sit at your office. Of course, we saw the case Atiku Abubakar and the Chicago case concerning the president. Some of the lawyers were in Nigeria and they appeared virtually. They didn't need to travel to the US. Because that's the area of technology where you can sit at the without actually going physically. Of course, one, it saves you time, it saves you translation.
A lot of things.
So many people are conversing for that. Don't you think that is important for our court at various levels to introduce and embrace the issue of technology, in dispensing? It
is imperative. It's part of what we have in the area of technology development. We thank God for, because a coin has two sides. The other side of the COVID-19 was the introduction of virtual hearing.
Yeah, but it has been embraced.
Which is very good. And some courts in Lagos are doing it, and some other. There's need for all the courts in Nigeria to embrace it. In Lagos, even at the magistrate court level, high court level, they still do virtual hearing. That I know. But most of the other states, most of them are yet to adapt to it, and it's imperative because it saves a lot of time, stress, expenses in justice administration. The other day we had the matter where the witness was all the way in Germany. He gave his evidence, and that was done. It's another area because you declare that traveling from one state to another, you are like assuming the matter I went for. You had a virtual hearing. I would have spent the money I spent on the flight.
Checks and also save the client.
Yes, it's good. So virtual hearing should be embraced by all facets of the judicial system.
You wouldn't spend up to 5,000 naira on data if you were to have attended virtually,
Yes.
while as taking flight.
Yes. Just one way, I spent 220,000 just going one way. So you record that to go to and fro, one needs not less than 500,000.
Something I could organize taking 5,000.
Yes. So that is an area so they don't make justice too expensive. That is a what. So the technology is imperative for a major reform in the judicial system.
All right. And another issue is the independence of the judiciary.
Yes.
Of course, we've talked about that in the past. Of course, something has to be done to ensure that the judiciary is truly independent.
Yes.
Of course, Nigerians are yearning for a true, independent, and transparent judiciary. So I wouldn't know what reforms that could come into that area to ensure that the confidence of the masses, are reinvigorated.
Yes. At every given opportunity, once there are gathering of lawyers, judges, or even the populace, one of the things they say is that a judiciary is not independent. Let the judiciary be actually independent. That has been the sing song. And you see, we know that is important, that whoever is to administer justice will be free to administer justice according to his conscience and in accordance with the laws of the land, not based on the whims and caprices or the desires of whoever he may want to serve. And that I mentioned when I was talking about appointment of judges, that the governor should just hands up the issue of appointment of judges at the High Court level. Let the issue of appointment be done according to law, which is at the state level, the State Judicial Service Commission, at the federal level, National Judicial Service Commission. And you see, what we're witnessing in recent times is politicians, ensuring that their cronies, those that are close to them, one way or the other, get to the bench. And what do you expect? That whenever there are issues, cases that concern the interest directly or indirectly of that politician or the set of politicians, they will meet whoever they have pushed to that position to say, look, we've made you what you are today. You must do our bidding.
All right.
And then we have also noticed that there are some very sound judges at the High Court level, at the Court of Appeal level, but because they don't have people pushing them, they remain where they are. But some are going up and up and up. We need to look at all these things.
Yeah, almost, of course, this is a very long topic. Of course, you can be on it all day. But, of course, we are limited by time. We are almost rounding up. So, we would like you to take this last question in a very short distance, and also take your overview of the topics that we have taken. So, how would you evaluate the effectiveness of administration of criminal justice act in speeding up the criminal justice processes in Nigeria? Just in a very short, because of course that is very, very important. The criminal justice system of every country is very, very important.
The criminal justice system in Nigeria is an area that also needs major reforms. The way people are made to undergo long trials for minor offenses. Some of them are languishing in custody for ordinary offenses that are available. It is a sad tale. Our constitution made it very clear that whoever is arrested by the police or any law enforcement agency and taken to court is still presumed innocent until proved guilty by court of competent jurisdiction. But what do we have in Nigeria? Where people are made to prove their innocence. The system is such that for an offense that carries maybe 6 months imprisonment or something, a person can stay there for years. That is not justice. And the criminal justice system needs major reforms. The way things are being done, if you look at the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, there are arraignment rights of the suspect, their right at trial, and post-trial rights. It's called that those pre-trial rights are hardly, enjoyed by the suspects. For example, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act have said that when the statement of someone who has been arrested is being taken, certain things must be in place. One, the suspect must be informed promptly in the language he or she understands of the allegations against him. Two, he also need to be informed that he's free not to say anything, but whatever he says may be taken down in writing and may be used in evidence against him in court. Three, that he has the opportunity to say that he cannot say it until his lawyer or legal practitioner is there. And again, that the process of taking that statement should be videoed, so that if tomorrow there are allegations of brutalization or duress or torture and human and dignity treatment in the process of taking it, it will be shown. But those things are not complied with.
All right. We are almost out of time.
Well, maybe
words before we call it a day.
Yes. On the first thing we talked about, independent candidacy is a welcome development, a cherry news for those who may have, stopped dreaming about going to contest. It is hope made alive. Concerning the administration of justice in Nigeria, the judicial system, there are major reforms that need to be done and done now, so that the confidence of the masses will still be restored in our judicial system. Because, of course, I know Nigeria has produced very great judges that have even been sent to other countries in the Commonwealth. We have lots and lots of them. We still have great judges today, but then there are major reforms that need to be done so that we can have, better access to justice. Part of which is to make Supreme Court to be in the six geopolitical zones to allow for access to justice to more and wider Nigerian populace.
All right. Thank you very much for your insightful analysis. This is where we'll draw the curtain of today's episode on democracy and the rule of law. It has been wonderful in the studio this evening. I will thank you for staying put to this time. Join us same time next week, as we will look at more trending issues. And do well to follow us on all our social media platforms. Stay tuned to meet again next week.